Okay, Pasha's told us. So before we jump into the pasuk, there's a murdika. A lot of stuff comes together when we understand the idea of ava talui b'dava and ava she'ena talui b'dava, as it says in the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos in the fifth parak, that there's two kinds of love. There's a love that's talui on something. Kol ahava shehi taluya b'dava.
Sorry. What does taloi mean?
Talui means dependent. Any love that is dependent on a thing. Any love that is dependent on something. When that thing disappears, then the love disappears. V'she'ena taluya b'dava, on a love that isn't dependent on something. Eina b'teila le'olam. It's never going to be bottled. The love. Okay. So it's interesting because men are much more external than women are. When it comes to men's attraction to women, they're much more affected by the externals than women are. Women are more interested in things like kindness and confidence and honesty and all that kind of stuff. And at the top of a men's list is basically, how she looks, and then everything else comes secondary. So that's an interesting thing. Also, men are, if you look at men's gifts, they're nearly always kind of utilitarian in a sense. They're useful. You can do stuff with them. Yeah. Women's gifts are much more like, jewelry. Like generally men aren't into jewelry generally. Or if they're into a watch, there's also, it's got some kind of utility as well. But women are actually into jewelry more than men are. So women are more into the thing itself, whereas men are more into the thing as a means to an end. There's always some kind of something else they're looking for. You with me? So the pasuk goes like this, and we learn amazing things. V'yehav Yitzchak es Esav kitzayed b'fiv. That Yitzchak loved Esav. Why? Because tzayed b'fiv, he could trap with his mouth. There was trapping in his mouth. That was difficult to translate, maybe. Rivka eheves es Yaakov. And Rivka loves Yaakov. So there's a few questions. First question is, why does it say by Yitzhak, Vayehav, and he loved? But it's in future. There's this thing called the reversive vav, the vav ha'hefech, which basically means that the verb gets written in future tense, but you pronounce it in past tense. Like we say in, Bereshis Vayomer Elokim, but it means and he will say, it means and he said. Yeah, there's this anomaly in Hebrew grammar that the vav can flip around the tense. So it's written V'yehav Yitzchak, which reads as and Yitzchak loved Esav, but by Rivka is written V'Rivka oheves es Yaakov. Rivka loves in present tense, not past, not future, present. Rivka loves Yaakov, and Yitzhak loved Esav. Okay, so what's that about? Number two is, why is it that Yaakov didn't get jealous of Esav? If all the brothers got jealous of Yosef because he was preferred by Yaakov, Yosef was a big tzaddik. Kal v'chomer, Yaakov should have got jealous of Esav because Esav was a big Rasha. So why was there no jealousy, Bichlal? Okay, so those are the two questions. And why was it Yitzhak who loved? So there's the third one. Why is it Yitzhak who loved Esav, and it was Rivka who loved Yaakov? So we've got three questions. What's the difference in the tense between Yitzhak's love for Esav, which is in past written in future but pronounced in past tense. Whereas by Rivka, her love for Yaakov is in present tense, number one. Number two is why was Yaakov not jealous of Esav if his father loved him? And usually the love of the father is something very dear to the son. There was no jealousy there, Bichlal, and Esav was a Russia. And number three, why was it Yitzhak who loved Esav and Rivka who loved Yaakov? Okay, so it's dependent in this idea of a love that's dependent on something. And Avatalia Badava. Yitzchak loved Esav, why? Kitzad Befiv. Because he would trap with his mouth. For Rivka, Eheva says Yaakov. Doesn't give any qualifying reason. Just says Rivka loves Yaakov. So it was an Avatalui. By Yitzhak, he loved Esav because blah blah. By Rivka, she loved Yaakov. There was no because. That was an Ava Eina Talia Badava. It was a love that wasn't dependent on anything. So just to bring in the Rashi here. Rashi says Befiv. He translates. He gives you what it means Befiv. Gumoy Befiv shel Yitzhak, in the mouth of Yitzhak, and Midrashoy Befiv shel Esav. He loved Esav because of Esav's mouth. What? Sad oisoi amamehu b'dvarav, that he used to like trap Yitzhak, and he would like be deceitful with his words. Yeah. So there's Rashi in the pasuk before. And it says this is the deceit that Esav used to get into. Letzud l'ramois es aviv befiv. He would trap him and he would deceive him, his father, with his mouth. V'shoyle Abba, he would say, Abba, hayech masin es hamelech es teven. He'd say, Abba, how do you maisa melech and how do you maisa teven? And we know that salt and teven doesn't need maisas. Because and he would try and give over the impression to Esav, to Yitzhak, that he was medakdek in mitzvahs. When somebody is being deceitful, that means that their heart is in one place and their mouth is in another place. They want something different to what they're giving over. What happens when that's the case, if somebody is trying to get love from somebody else through deceit, then he might get that love, but it's going to be a love that is connected to the thing that he's trying to deceive him about. So Esav was tricking Yitzhak into loving him, and therefore Yitzhak was loving the thing that he was trying to trick him into loving him for. And that's why he says, "V'ye'ahav Yitzhak es Esav kitzad befiv." He loved him because of that. So what about Esav? He didn't love Esav. That's the inyan of Avatalui Badava. A man who marries a woman for her money hates the woman. Even if he doesn't mind her, in fact, she could be okay, but it's a relative hate. She will feel hated, even if he does quite like her. If he's married her for the money, then she will feel hated. That's how it goes. That's called an Avatalui Badava. And that's why the Sitra Achra rebels against the Boina Shalom, because Hashem hates the Sitra Achra. Why? Because Hashem creates Sitra Achra for a reason, to give us Bechira. So he doesn't want the Sitra Achra for himself. It's like being married to a woman for her money. He doesn't want the woman, he wants the money. So to Hashem, he doesn't want the Sitra Achra, he wants the fact that it gives us free will. So the Sitra Achra feels hated by Hashem in a sense, and that causes rebellion. Just as a side point for children, if our love for our children is dependent on anything, whether it's good grades, social mileage, how they look, whatever it is, yeah, they will feel hated. I'm being very strong with my language here, maybe a bit too strong, but it's they will feel hated and that will cause a rebellion. That's the inyan of Ava Talui Badava. So what really is it when somebody loves someone for something? What's really going on is something very, very deep and subtle, very deep and very subtle. He's actually loving his machshavas about the person. If he's not loving the person, it's not that he's loving the money. Let's just go back to the crass example of a man who's married a woman because she's rich. A man's marrying a woman because she's got a lot of money. He's not, although he is marrying the money in a sense, that would be the simple way of saying it. Really, he's marrying his machshavas that he has towards the money. That's really what's going on. He's marrying the concept of money. That's the draw, what he's thinking. And thinking always exists in Zman. Because thinking is oisius, and oisius puts together letters, words, which means Zman. You can't think outside of, you can't think. You need time to be able to think. If you don't have time, you can't think. So loving someone for something is very much connected to time, because really you're marrying yourself. You're marrying your own thoughts about this person. And now we've got the answers to all the questions. So it's like this. First question, why does it say in the future tense and the past tense? Well, let's ask the second question. Why didn't Yaakov get jealous of Esav? Because Yitzhak's love for Esav was an Ava Talui Badava. It wasn't a real love. He didn't love Esav. He loved the thing that Esav was trying to capture Yitzhak with. That's a very chetzonius thing. So just like Esav probably felt hated, Yaakov also probably picked up on the fact that Esav was actually being hated, and therefore there was no jealousy bichlal, because he wasn't being loved. Why is it written v'ye'ahav Yitzchak in the reversive vav, written in future tense but pronounced in past tense? Whereas,
sorry, can I ask a question on that? Why would he, even if he loved him unconditionally, why would Yaakov get jealous?
Well, you're right. That's the reason why I even asked that question was just because the brothers were jealous of Yosef for the same reason. That Yaakov loved Yosef more, and Yosef was a tzaddik, so they had reason to love them more. So you would think that if Yitzhak loved Esav more, there'd be a good chance that Yaakov would feel some kind of jealousy. That's where the question came from. It's a good question. I wouldn't ask that question if it wasn't for the brothers. Yeah. So Yaakov isn't jealous of Esav because really Yitzhak hates Esav. Yitzhak loves the words that Esav was talking to him about his dikdukin mitzvahs, meaning that Esav himself was actually hated. Again, I'm using a strong language. It maybe. So number one, Yaakov wasn't jealous because of that. Number two, the inyan of the zma of the tenses. Why does it say that Yitzhak loved Esav, and it's written in future tense and it's reversed into past tense, but it says by Rivka oheves es Yaakov. She loves Yaakov, present tense. It's the same inyan, because the love that Yitzhak had for Esav was an ava talui b'dava, a love dependent on something, which meant it was a love, an intellectual love from his machshavas, and that's time bound. Whereas Rivka's love for Yaakov was a real love, a true love, and that's not time bound. So that's in present tense. For Rivka, eheves es Yaakov, she loves him. And what was the other question we asked?
And time bound, meaning that it's not going to last. There's no substance. It's a conditional love that that will only last for so long.
Thank you. So you just
Not
remind, that's perfect. Yeah, because then it says in the Mission Avos, it says a love that isn't dependent on something. It will never be buttle. It's not short as man bichlal. It's not, we're talking about a being. Beings aren't in Zman. Things are in Zman. But people are not in Zman. People are infinite. People are beyond Zman. You know that I'm learning this book now to say that Hashem is infinite. See, we usually divide create or reality into like there's infinity and finity. Yeah. Which sounds very good. God is infinite and creation is finite. But the Tanya divides reality into Etzem and Gilui. Etzem and Gilui. And infinity and finity both fit into Gilui. Etzem is the Rabbeinu Shalom himself, Mamash. Infinity is a creation of God's. God created infinity just like he created finity. Is Hashem infinite? No. Is he finite? No. He's not infinite or finite. That would or he's infinite and finite at the same time. To call him infinite would be a what's it called? Would be limiting him to infinity. So the Tanya really breaks reality not down into infinity and finity, but into etzem and gilui, into essence and revelation, and that means that infinity and finity both come under revelation. It creates a whole different way of experiencing reality. Well, we're not going to talk about that now, but anyway. So just like Avi said, yeah, and then we showed from the Mishnah that it means that the love won't ever be bottled. And just to tie in one more thing, we say in Shachris, it doesn't say bacha. It says boiche. He chooses his nation, Israel, with ava. Present tense. Real love is a present tense thing. Genuine love is a present tense thing. The minute we're loving qualities about a person, we've fallen into Zman and we've fallen into things and we've truthfully fallen back into ourselves. Okay, that was a very question. Couple more points. V'yigash v'yishat loy v'yach reach begadov. So Yaakov came to Yitzhak, and remember he was wearing the skins of Esav, yeah? And it says v'yorach es reach begadov b'vachehu, and Yitzhak smelled the scent of his clothes, and he blessed him. It smells like the sadeh. Rashi says, could you think of a more disgusting smell than like goat skins? Yeah. He says, but really what happened is it came into a Reach Gan Eden. So I want to say it like this, a very deep thought, is that our behavior is called garments. Yeah, thought, speech, and action is called garments. For lots of reasons. You begin a behavior, you end a behavior. You put on a garment, you take off a garment. They conceal you, they express you, lots of different stuff. But one of the really important things is that you can wear somebody else's garments, meaning you can act like someone else. You can speak someone's words. That's called plagiarism. You can think someone's thoughts. How can you think someone's thoughts? Oh, you're driving. You can think. Yeah, go on. Avi, you gonna say?
I just said. I mean, you think of it. You think of what they tell you is their thoughts, and you can. I don't.
So you
Not
can,
so profound,
you can
but
say
what are you
that.
saying?
No, but
Yeah.
you can think sometimes when you read their book, you're thinking their thoughts.
Oh yes,
When you're
yes,
sitting in their chair, you're
yes,
thinking their
totally,
thoughts.
totally, yes.
When you take
Speaking to
their
someone,
what?
conversing with someone.
Yeah. Well, if you're listening, really listening. And then when you're doing somebody a tovy, you're taking their dry cleaning to the shop for them. Yeah, you're becoming enclosed in their action. That's not your deed. You don't care about their clothes going to the dry cleaners, or maybe you do, but that's their deed. That's their action that you're actually becoming enclosed in. So you can wear someone else's clothing, which means you can.
I'm sorry, I have to go on a call. I just realized.
No problem.
I'm sorry, I have to leave right now, but I have to tell you that was what I've listened so far has been mind blowing. Thank you so much for sharing it, and it gives me a whole new perspective on life. Mamish.
Wow. Square.
I'm sorry. Have a good Shabbos.
Okay, so good Shabbos.
Bye bye.
So that's a nice compliment to get from you, give a share. That what's the word? I've gotten all self-conscious now. Wait a minute. Yeah, so you can wear somebody else's garments. That's one of the inyanim of behavior. Everyone's with me on that? It's Pasha, yeah? But this is amazing. The inyan of reach, the inyan of smell, is the inyan of it's what comes off of you. There's the etzem thing itself, and then the smell comes off. It's actually, I said that by Hashgacha, the inyan of etzem and gilui, of essence and revelation. That's really what the concept of smell is the thing itself is the essence, and the smell is the revelation that comes off of the essence, as it appears, as it is, like Lamaisa, yeah? So how could it be that Yaakov was wearing these disgusting, smelly goat skins, but yet, meaning he was kind of dressed in Esav's behavior, yet Yitzhak could smell the reich of Gan Eden. And this is a beautiful idea, is that when we do people's behavior, I mean, for example, as a photographer, yeah, I'm a photographer. So I get employed to take pictures of people. That's what photographers do. But the point is that they're employing me to take pictures for them, but they're paying me good money because I'm gonna use the way that I see reality in a way that will give them pictures that are more than they could ever imagine. They want the pictures, and I'm going to take pictures for them, but I'm going to put myself into it in a way that means they're going to get pictures from me. And those pictures are going to be worth more to them than if they would have taken them themselves. That's the idea of the person who's wearing the clothes, the scent being smelled through the clothes. That when you do something for someone, it's not that you just do it, it's that you do it, but you do it in your way. And that's the scent of you coming through the smell, the scent of you coming through the behavior. So you're doing something for someone, but there's a very real element of you coming through it. That's called the smell. That's called the reach. And by a tzaddik, because their sense is so strong, so real, that even when Yaakov was wearing disgusting goat skins, yeah, like becoming the behavior of Esav, because he was so real, his essence went through that to the point where it was mevatel the ra, the stink of Esav's behavior, and all Yitzhak could smell was the scent of Gan Eden, mamash. Okay, I'm going to finish on one last thing. This is really mind-blowing, okay? And this is just, the fact is, it's not really in the Parsha, it's just there's an Or Chaim on the Parsha that tells you this. It's like a little bit of a side point, but this is very, very amazing. Okay, that my Rebbe told me this, and I spoke this out with a big Makubal that I'm close with, and he gave me even more insight into it. It's an Indian from the Arizal. We think that the Jewish lineage goes after the mother, yeah. So it actually doesn't go after the mother; it goes after the father. And that should be confusing because
that's kahuna, right? Kahuna goes after the father, right?
Al pi halacha, but yeah, but Yiddishkeit goes after the father as well. Now this is really,
oh wow,
yeah. Listen to this; it's a complete trip, and it's mamash. This is from the Arizal, and I heard it from my Rebbe, which would be enough anyway. But I got it clarified. I got it qualified by a big Makubal and Kashurtu, and here's one of the Makoras from the Or Chaim Kodesh. So I'll explain the Inyan, and then you'll see in the Or Chaim, but it's really mind-blowing. How can it be that the Yiddishkeit goes after the father? I understand that if the Yiddishkeit goes after the father and the man is with a non-Jew, yeah, then that could somehow get rid of the Yiddishkeit. But if the Yiddishkeit goes after the father, we know that if a non-Jew has a child with a female a female Jew, the child is Jewish. If the mother's Jewish and the father is not Jewish, the child is Jewish. How on earth then can you say that the Yiddishkeit goes basa the father? So when a Jewish man is with the shiksa, then the 9 months of gestation, so to speak, somehow, I don't want to say kills the neshama, but in a sense, we'll see, etc., what actually happens. But it somehow kills it, just gets rid of it, something, to the point where the child is not Jewish. But if it goes after the father, how can a non-Jewish man have a Jewish child from a Jewish woman? And the Rizal says that because in that non-Jewish man was Nitzoitz Nishmas Yisrael, and Bahashkacha, he ended up with the Jewish woman, and it's those Nitzoitz, the sparks of the Jewish neshamas that are stuck to his soul, his non-Jewish soul, that's what causes the child to be Jewish.
But Dina and Shechem, they say that, right?
Yes, yeah. We're going to say that right now. Absolutely, very good. So that's it. Now Rav Hass went weiter, and he said to me that the child that's born from a Jewish man and a non-Jewish woman, which Lemais is a goy, ends up neged Am Yisrael. Mamash neged Am Yisrael. Yeah. So listen to this Or Chaim. It's in it's Kaf Ches Pasuk Hey. Okay. According, we're going to explain the Inyan according to what they said. Lekutei Torah Mikates, which is from the Arizal. There's two kinds of Nitzoitza Kedusha. Shavuyim Beklipa, that are captured within the klipa. Ha'achas, neshamas yukaros, dear neshamas, v'yotzes be'emsos haleda, that come out through way of, they're given birth. Yeah. Ka'Avraham, who came from klipa, Sarah, who came from klipa, Rivka, V'rochel, came from klipa, Shnismas from Chaninya ben Tradion, came from klipa, Sheyotzim Shechem im Dina, like you just said, Ukurus Memoyav, Ukanama Me'amoin, all of these Heilige Yidden came out for Ukaunkulus, Hager, Ukadoma, and like all of these people, that the actual Nitzos Kedusha, it could be like Avraham, who he was born from Terach, so there was a Nitzos Kedusha that came out, and it could also be the Inyan of a Ger, who it comes out Lamaisa, the Ger fit, like the Ger doesn't have a choice to convert. That's the reason, by the way, why the halach is you push a Ger away. with crazy, like 2 hands, push them away again and again. You know why? Because if they're a real ger, it doesn't matter. You could push them away for 70 years and they will still want to become Jewish, because they have to become Jewish. They're a Jew just stuck in a goyish body. That's really what they are. So they're not going to stop. Masha Ainkain, some guy who just decided he wants to be a Jew because it's cool. Yeah, push him away enough and he'll forget about it, and that'll be better. Anyway, so there's the first type of nitzoitz that actually comes out into reality, whether it's born like Avraham or whether the person converts, that unkelus. And now this is the second type. The hasheni who min nitzoitz shel kedusha hadabu b'klipa. The second one is a nitzitz of kedusha that's mamish entrenched in the klipa. The eina yoytze klal. It doesn't come out klal. Elam ua b'klipa. It's firmly attached in the klipa. The ein lo metzias liparid memene. It can't separate from the klipa. Unlike with Avraham and Unkelus. Ella k'asher, the only way it can get redeemed, listen to this, the only way it can get redeemed, Yatzel Yisrael Ayudei Tsar or Ayudei Haka'ah, through being Messiah Yisrael. The only way that klipa can get redeemed is by being Messiah Yisrael. Ayudei Tsar Ayudei Haka'ah, hitting. That through means of this causing the Yidden to suffer, nifredes hakadusha v'choizeres l'shorsha. That kedusha that was stuck in the klipa gets released from its klipa and goes back to kedusha. You realize, I'm not even going to say it, but you realize if you plug this Or Chaim into what happened a month ago, what that means. Not that we're in any way chaz v'shalom, in any way whatsoever, puttering these people, and Hashem should take vengeance, kiflei kiflai and mamish on them and everyone who is even slightly involved in any way, shape, or form. But what actually happens, this is one of the reasons why the Yidden get the goyim and matzah the Yidden, is because in those goyim are caught up nitzoitz kedusha that are so entrenched in klipa that the only way they get an aliyah is when they're matzah the Yidden, which obviously causes some level of tshuva, and those nitzoitz kedusha stuck in those rishoyim ends up with their aliyah back to Rabbeinu Shloim. Back to their show.
Well, through us doing tshuva from their tsar brings up their nitzay.
I added that. He didn't actually say that. He just said by giving us tsar. But tsar, basically, the whole point of tsar is to bring a yid to hachno, which is tshuva. So he didn't actually say that tshuva bit, but I'm assuming that's probably a lot to do with it. But he just said that through being Messiah and beating the Yidden, that nitzoitz kedusha gets separated from the klipa and goes back to its shoresh, and that's probably the reason. Wow, I never thought that could be the reason why 11,000 Arabs died after those Arabs killed so many of us, because the nitzoitz kedusha that had their kiyum, I'm just thinking, that was makayim them in some way, got its aliyah, went back to the Rebbeinu Shalom, so then all of them mamash just disappeared. That's just my thought. That just came to me now. Okay. Shkoyach, we'll finish here.
Thank you. Have a good Shabbos.
Yeah, good Shabbos.
Have a good Shabbos. Thank you.
Zayv, is my pleasure.
All right, be well.